I'm Kamerie Gibson. Welcome to the Kamerie Gibson Show, the podcast. I believe that one of the most precious gifts you can share with someone is your story. Pain has purpose and stories can change lives. Your journey to become more inspired and transformed by the lives of those around us starts now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Kamerie Gibson Show, where we talk about transforming our pain into power. And today I have a special guest with me here today. His name is Cory Dollarhide. Cory, if you don't mind introducing yourself to the audience for me, please.
First and foremost, I appreciate you having me. So my name is Cory Dollarhide. Born, raised Inglewood, California. Been out there ever since high school, and then transitioned. I played basketball up until that time. Played basketball in college, and then I graduated about 5 years ago, which sounds pretty absurd, knowing that I'm 5 years after college. But yeah, born and raised Inglewood, California. 26 years old, trying to make my next move, my best move out here.
I love that. I didn't know, was that 5 years ago you graduated from high school?
College.
College. Oh my God. High school. A decade, right?
Nah, yeah, it's about to be a decade.
About to be a decade. Because I'm class of 2015.
Okay. I'm
What about
class
you?
of 2014.
Okay, so you're just a year ahead of me.
Yeah.
Wait, when's your birthday?
Uh-oh.
Guys always
You about to label me with a horoscope sign?
Does it matter?
I got PTSD when ladies ask me that.
Really? Every guy says that. And it's funny though, when guys say that though, I think it's just y'all have had probably jaded experiences with women. But if you think about it, the planets, the stars, the moon is what our ancestors were studying before religion. So it's not cuckoo. I just think some people kind of get immersed in one area of it because it's bigger. There's numerology. There's all type of stuff. So I'm like, I get it, but there's also your moon, your rising, all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna figure it out. I think it's a Virgo. Because you acting like that. But
Oh boy.
He's like, I ain't gonna tell her. But okay, so Inglewood. If you've ever been to Chicago, there's a city named Inglewood, just like here in Los Angeles, California. So for those who don't know about Inglewood, what is Inglewood like?
Well, Inglewood, when I was upcoming, was, it could be a bit rough. There's some areas where it's a lot of crime, some crime-infested areas, a lot of gang activity, a lot of different neighborhoods that are in collaboration with different gangs, as a lot of people may know. It's probably calmed down a little bit now, but I think now in time, Inglewood has been more gentrified. They have different stadiums and venues being built. They're building new construction, new apartments, condos all around the vicinities. So it's growing. It's definitely growing. Inglewood doesn't look the same as it did 10 years ago. Didn't look the same as it did 20 years ago. But Inglewood will always have a special place in my heart. But it's like I can't live in the heart of LA right now. Number one, it's overpopulated. And the bag got to be right if you want to live in LA. Like, it got to be right. But Inglewood is a great place. So if you want to move there, just make sure you do your research. Make sure you got the bag right, because it's gonna cost you a pretty penny.
Yes, sir. No, definitely. So I was talking to some of my students about gentrification. Thursday and Friday, we talked about gentrification in Inglewood. With the SoFi Stadium.
SoFi Stadium.
SoFi Stadium. Like, gentrification, when done by people who live in those areas, can be a good thing, right? Like, if Black people were to go in there, make South LA and all these other communities better, that's one thing. But it's another thing when developers come in here, build these apartment homes, outprice us because we can't afford to live there. I think the average bedroom now is like $1,800 or something like that for one bedroom.
Yeah.
But
That's on the cheap side too.
That's on the cheap side. Like, I don't know. It's really disheartening, especially me. I'm from South Central LA, and it's the same thing happening. It's like they bring all these beautiful things, but not for us to benefit from them.
Yeah,
And
yeah, it's difficult. It's a difficult time to adapt to, something to adjust, but it's just a challenge, you know?
it is. So you're living in another state now. How does it feel for you to be away from like where you grew up at, like family, friends?
That's a really good question. I'm glad you asked because I think the one thing that college really taught me is to thrive in solitude. Learn how to take care of yourself, adapt or adopt some responsibilities. I think that's one of the primary things that college has taught me, and being immersed in the sport of basketball, being surrounded by like-minded people who are involved in the same sport of you, working towards a common goal, it really taught me to understand what it means to work for something. And so I've been accustomed to being away from my primary environment. So I've gotten comfortable being uncomfortable being away from home. And I think there's some merit and some nobleness in that. So it's something that people may find trouble with, and I certainly understand. But I think I also wanted to be away from Inglewood so I can challenge myself and get comfortable being away from what I'm used to, because then and only then can you really grow. So I'm happy I was able to overcome that and thrive in that type of situation.
I love that. Were you the only child? How did you grow up? Were your parents married?
Yes, so I'm not the only child. I got one brother. He's older, 7 years older. Super super close. Talk pretty much every day, if not every other day. Um, Dad and mom's was married. Had a whole bunch of issues growing up. Not every family is perfect. A lot of this. My family was dysfunctional to say the least, but I always try to see the good in every situation, because if there's an extreme negative, it has to be an extreme positive. That's just a fact. So if you choose to see the good in every situation, you'll be able to find the benefits. So since that's the case, my family was a bit dysfunctional. The nuclear family, my dad and my brother, we were super, super close to them to this day. So it was a lot of interesting difficulties that I had to see and overcome. But in doing that, I was able to reap some of the positives from it, because I was self aware enough to realize it.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so a self-aware young man you are.
Yes, indeed.
Good. Not everybody has that. Um,
It's
right?
a superpower too. It's a
It's
superpower.
superpower. If you can be like, you know what? I'm not on my stuff, or I'm not looking at the situation the right way, and it's kind of holding me back from growing. Like
You'll be
everybody,
surprised that small thing you just said, it can move mountains.
it can save your life. It could keep you out of prison, keep you from being broke all your life. A lot of stuff. Okay, so you talked about your family being dysfunctional. So what does dysfunction mean to Corey? Because a dysfunctional household could be a family that's always cussing, or a family that maybe doesn't have family time, once a week or sit at the dinner table together.
Right. I never had that. I don't know what that's like. I don't know what that's like. What dysfunctional means to me, I mean, the formal way of putting it is a whole bunch of irreconcilable differences. um, but, I witnessed a lot of arguments growing up when I was small. Something I didn't really understand, right? I thought, moms and dads, they were supposed to get along. Things were supposed to be all good. But it wasn't like that. And, witnessing that made me realize that there's a lot of adversity when it comes with relationships, marriage, and all that. Um, and I didn't have a lot of resources when it came to family members. There wasn't a lot of people I could reach out to, seek advice or counsel. So I had to learn a lot of things on my own. But I'm not saying that to say, like, my parents were terrible, because that's not the case at all. I don't know where I would be without my dad, right? But just in knowing that made me realize to overcome some of those things that I witnessed.
That's real. So You talk about your dad a lot. What role did your father play in your life?
Major role, major role. Um, he was there every step of the way throughout college, ensuring I had everything I needed and the things that he lacked. Guiding me and really developing the character that I have now, and it just compounded over time.
Can you see how you having your father versus like your peers not having your father made a difference in your life?
What was that?
Can you see how you having your father in your life versus your peers who may not have had their father? How did that make a difference in your life?
That's a really deep question. And that's a deep question because a lot of people don't have that figure to look up to. They don't have an example. They don't know what it's like to have that role model in the household, right? So it's difficult for them to exemplify those traits if they ain't never seen it. So I think, we hear a lot of toxic masculinity these days. Um, but it's critical in having that type of figure to look at. And then along the way, you'll know what to do. You'll know what to see what's right from wrong. You'll be able to build those ethics and those principles and really create that vision for yourself. And then not only having that figure to look to, but try to be better than that.
Mhm. I like that. So, what were some of Corey's dreams as a little boy?
Whew. Um, I'm not too sure. When I was little, I think I was always interested in sports. Um, I was always interested in just telling some type of story. I think I didn't have that dream of like being an astronaut or like a firefighter or something. Like, nah, I never had those type dreams. But it was just, telling stories. And I think I really was able to develop that type of vision or that dream because of basketball. Like I use basketball as a tool to eliminate distractions, to eradicate some of the troubles that I would have fell in. Um, and that was a catalyst for me to begin, improving my life, improving my character, and the skill set and the mindset to really thrive.
What is it about basketball? What was it about basketball that did it for you? Mentally, spiritually, physically?
Yeah, it just taught me to really learn or understand how to work for something because in sports, you have to put in a lot of work. There's a lot of responsibility involved. You have to hold yourself accountable, your teammates accountable. You have to set the tone, set the example, because no one's going to listen to you if you're not exemplifying the things that you're saying. So it taught me a lot about confidence, how to show up on time, uh, how to work hard. It taught me about work ethic. It taught me about putting in the overtime and trying to gain a competitive advantage. And the best thing about sports, I think it's one of the greatest metaphors we have when it comes to life because sports correlate directly to life. How many times do people say you got to fight for your life? Well, that correlates directly to boxing. You know, a lot of the times when we be going through things, you get hit with something vicious in life, you're gonna get hit with vicious punches in boxing too. So they tell you to roll with the punches. Sometimes you got to roll with the opposition. You got to roll with the adversity and keep it going. Um, but yeah, it taught me a lot of things, man. Basketball. I'm glad I was able to see some of the things that it taught me because I can see the benefits from it for sure.
Nah, I really thank you for that answer because I didn't grow up playing sports. My father was not going to make me do anything I didn't want to do. He learned that at a young age with me. I was my dad's only daughter. My brother wasn't really athletic, so he didn't really get lucky with us. My dad is the ultimate coach too, but it was what it was. But that's cool, Corey. When did you know that you were special though from your peers? Because we all know, right? We all have those moments. We like, hey, I ain't like them, but they cool, but I'm just different.
What do you mean by special though? That I was just different from everyone else and I don't move with the crowd and don't conform?
Clearly. I mean, I don't interview people who are like everybody else.
Hmm.
So, and I mean, just by the way you're speaking, that self awareness we talked about that not most people don't have. You know, when did you realize that self awareness was like creating that degree of separation?
I think I've always been an observer, right? I think most of my childhood when I was growing up, I was mostly reserved. I wasn't super outspoken. I rather listen than speak, so I know what's right from wrong. And I was just aware of the mistakes that people were making. And then I was able to audit. Yeah, I was able to audit people's mistakes, and then realize like, okay, I don't want my life to be like that guy. Like, oh, he's doing that. Yeah, I don't want to do that. Like that's his values. That's what he believes in. Yeah, that's gonna get him in trouble. I'm definitely not gonna do that. So I was just able to realize, okay, if I don't want to end up like that, I'm just gonna do the opposite. And then primarily, if you don't conform to the 95% of people, then you're gonna be what's called an outlier. If you're an outlier, then there's positives and negatives to that as well, because people are going to look at you a certain way. Oh, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Why are you not just coming to the club? Why are you not just hanging out? Nah, because I'm about this work, man. I'm trying to improve my life. I'm trying to improve my life situations. And then there's the benefits and the rewards of that as well. Once you see it over time, it doesn't come immediately, right? I think all the rewards we come to bear fruit from come over an extended period of time. Nothing good or nothing worth having comes in the short term. So it was just seeing what other people were doing incorrect, what I didn't want my life to look like. And in being in that environment in Inglewood, I mean, I was able to see that, and I just wanted something different.
That's real. I'm just like you. I'm like, anything give me about South Central, I'ma do it. If I gotta apply to all these scholarships, because that wasn't sports wasn't my thing, but winning essays was my thing. So I secured
Mm,
over 13 scholarships in undergrad just because
shout
I made it a
out.
competitive thing for me though, right? And I
Shout
wanted
out.
something I feel
Yeah.
like to make my daddy happy. I
Yes.
wasn't sports or football, so I'm like, I'm winning, daddy. Like, I'm getting money,
Yes.
so
Yes.
that was my thing. But thank you for sharing that, man. So me and Corey actually met, kind of like I guess informally in class at AVC. So AVC is a pretty nice, small community college. It's located in Lancaster, Antelope Valley. It's called Antelope Valley College, and I believe we were both in a math class. And I didn't really talk too much. Corey didn't really talk too much. He seemed cool, but that's where we had met. So when I met you, that was 2016. Where were you at that time, and why were you at AVC?
2016, we were at ABC. Yeah, we were.
Mhm.
Yeah, 2016 was a good year. Yeah, I was at AVC. I was playing basketball at the time. Um, yeah, I was going through the season, just trying to improve my skills within the game, staying focused. I remember a lot of the times my teammates used to try to make me go out. I would sometimes, but it's rare occasions. Like it's on rare occasions. But I stayed at ABC for 2 years, and then obviously I went to my 4 year at Lewis Clark State and finished my basketball career year and finished my studies. And then I ended up graduating. But yeah, 2016, I was at ABC hooping.
Yeah, yeah. So not everybody makes it out of the community college atmosphere
Yeah,
though. So what
yeah.
was your drive to be on your step?
Just to graduate, I just want to finish. Um, no one in my nuclear family was able to graduate college, so it was something that was motivating me. Um, I think now though, a college degree isn't as nice as it used to be. Uh, but it's still a certificate of, an accomplishment. So it's something that I hold valuable to me. But yeah, I just wanted to finish college and get it done.
That's real, Corey, because off the record, we were talking about how we both have communications degree. And you're
Yes.
so right. It sucks because they was pushing all this college stuff to us. It's gonna save
Yes.
our lives. You're gonna make more money. We're gonna be living good. They ain't tell us it's only certain degrees that's getting paid immediately after college, right?
Right.
And those them
Right.
engineering degrees and stuff, because
Yes.
technically where everybody's at right now. But man, can you talk about Idaho a little bit? Just a little bit. I don't know.
And that's when people leave. Like, I don't want to hear about it. Nah, Idaho is the potato state. No diversity whatsoever. I'm not vilifying Idaho though. I enjoyed my time there. I enjoyed my teammates and who I was around. I made the most of it. But Idaho in and of itself, it's not a lot of houses. I mean, at least where I was fortunate enough to spend like a couple spring breaks in Boise, which is a really nice city in comparison to, you know, the adjacent cities because it has a more of a suburban feel. Uh, it's like a metropolitan area, it has buildings. It's more city like, but I was in a city called Lewiston, and the college I was at was actually smaller than my high school. But it's a really nice campus, but it was much smaller than my high school, had a smaller graduating class. Beautiful campus though, but you know, like I said, there's no diversity. It's primarily white. I think the only black people were my teammates. So that made us closer though. You know, we were a tight group. We were very successful at my time there. We at the time we had the best record in school history. I think that record's been broken in the following years, but at the time we had the best record. But it was a good time. Idaho is not a lot of things to do when it comes to, you know, having fun, going out, socializing. But if you make the most of it, you can make something happen.
I like that. Thank you. Because a lot of people can be scared to leave California or leave their home environment. I graduated from Texas Southern University. It's in
Hmm.
Third Ward, Houston, Texas. So that was different. You know, being from LA, Texas is different, you know, so I had to adapt. But I mean, I say yes, ma'am, yes, sir now. So that was cool to like catch, you know, from them. Um,
Yes.
yeah, a little Southern hospitality, you
Oh
know, rub off
yeah.
on me. Um, but yeah, okay, okay. So, what as a young man, you're 26. I'm 26 as well. What has always been like a big challenge for you growing up, coming into yourself? What have you struggled with the most?
Just figuring out what I really want to do, because I'm
Hmm.
not gonna lie and portray like I had everything figured out coming out of college, coming out of high school. Like coming out of college, I didn't even know what I was gonna do. Like what I was gonna do next. When I finished basketball, I'm like, okay, like I'm in the real world. I'm an adult. So I'm like, I realized like, okay, there's no one coming to save you, man. You gotta figure it out. You gotta look in the mirror, go through those dark times, and then just revolutionize yourself. But it wasn't until like I would say a couple years ago, maybe 2 years ago, where I really developed the clarity in what I wanted to do, what I wanted to be known for, what I wanted to represent. Um, so I think to answer your question succinctly is just figuring out what I wanted to do with my life, what I wanted to be known for, and what brand I wanted to represent.
What was Corey's brand before he went to college? Who did Cor who was Corey to his friends, to his community, to his family? How did you see yourself?
Just someone who works hard, who has great work ethic, who's ambitious, and was just known for playing basketball. Someone who had a good shot. Like I was known for someone who was a shooter. um, but it wasn't significant. Like I was missing something. I was like, I don't want to be known for just that. Like that's just basic. That's just too mediocre to me. Like there's something else. So I had to just dig deep and figure out what else is there.
But what does digging deep look like though?
Just asking yourself the tough questions. A lot of people don't like to sit with themselves because they don't want to find what's there. um, so
Right.
it's a challenge, but sometimes you got to just sit with yourself and realize your deficiencies, where you're inadequate, and then build upon there. But the toughest part of it is facing those fears, facing those inadequacies, and then building upon it.
Yeah, like for example, I'm broke or I'm lazy, right? Or I procrastinate too much. Ain't nothing getting done. Or I'm not really the most reliable person.
Hmm.
Let me change that, you know? And that's okay. Like we all
And
have
that's okay, yes.
that's okay. Acknowledge it. And
But
when
it's
you
not
make
okay staying there.
it's not okay staying there, but you have to make those changes. And they can be small changes. Acknowledge yourself for those small changes and then keep going forward, you know? That's how
100%.
yeah, it's helped me too. Okay, so now moving fast forward, I see you posting all these motivational reels and stuff. Why are you doing this? What's your end goal with all that?
Well, my goal has been always to inspire others. I think that's one of the highest forms of human beings, is try to inspire other people. And I think it's just an extension of who I am, what I'm trying to portray myself to be. I'm just being myself, and I'm just doing it for its own sake primarily. I'm not really doing it for, likes or recognition. Like, that's great. That's icing on the cake, right? Um, but I'm just doing it because it's something I find enjoyable. If someone gets inspired by it, someone has an emotion toward it that's positive, great. You have emotion toward it that's negative, hey, that's on you. I ain't got nothing to do with me, because it's nothing but positivity that I'm exuding. So, but the goal is just to, build a reputable brand. Someone sees my page, someone hears my name, they know what I'm about, right? That's what I'm trying to get clear on, because that was something that I was lacking. Who is Cory? What is he about? What is he doing? So I want that to be known.
I think it's important that we just talk about that, especially with our generation. I consider myself a Generation Z thought leader because I believe that I'm putting out thoughts and ideas, different ways of conducting yourself for my generation, as we currently exist today. So some people, I feel like outside of our generation, may not understand how important the brand thing is for us, especially when it comes to online presence. But for those who don't understand, who may be a little bit older or younger, like, what does it mean to be recognizable on social media? Like, what value does that really bring to us?
Well, we have to realize how the world has evolved, right? Everything is on the internet. That's how you make your presence known. And you can either complain about it or adapt. And I've realized, like, since a lot of the communication is partaking online on social media, well, you got to get in the game. You got to put your name in the hat. So I was just able to realize that and adapt to it, and just try to build a online presence, try to accentuate myself online on the internet, because I've always been reserved. Like I said, I wasn't the greatest at being vulnerable, right? So I just had to take a stance outside of my comfort zone and see how I can be more recognizable on social media and put myself out there more, and then see where it goes.
No, man, that's real. That's why I'm finna figure out your zodiac sign. I'm super private, and I'm super known for knowing a lot of people, people knowing me, but they don't really know me.
Yes.
I always felt like the more you are a mystery, the more people want to get to know you and always want to be into
Mm,
you. But at the same time, I feel you. Like the more I put myself out there, the more I put myself out there, excuse me, the more people wanted to like connect with me. Because to be honest with you, people aren't being their true selves. Like
mm.
authenticity, vulnerability, like all of that stuff is missing in content right now. Like everybody's trying to be like somebody else, but who are you? We want to come to Corey's page because we like how Corey does this. We like how he sees life from this angle. We don't want you to be like nobody else. We're gonna follow them if we want what they're giving. So I just want
100%. Now let's unpack that for a little
yeah,
bit, because you said a lot of truths right there.
yeah.
I think, combining that enigma or that mystery but also being authentic is something that people will attract to. Because like you said, people do attract towards mystery because they want to know what you're about. They want to learn more about you. But there's strategy involved in that, and you want to position yourself in the best way possible. And that authenticity piece is critical. Like you gotta be yourself. You gotta be yourself. And a lot of people can't because they don't know who they are. And it's primarily because they're being bombarded with information on social media. And then, as I mentioned earlier, they can't sit with themselves. They're constantly consuming, trying to block the noise or block the obstacles that get in the way of them trying to learn who they really are. But I think in order to do that, you have to train yourself to do what you say. You have to train yourself to do what you say. Because if you say something and you don't do it, you ain't going to trust yourself. And if you don't trust yourself, ain't nobody else going to trust you. So it's as critical as vital.
That's real. No, that's so real. That's why it's funny when, like, say if you're like talking to somebody and they're like, "You better not cheat on me." It's like you letting me know about yourself, right? More than anything, because I wasn't even thinking about nothing like this. Like I'm living my best life. You talking about
Yes.
me dishonoring your trust and breaking, like, people are gonna do what they want to do, but like it's just, I'm glad you said that. Like
Yes.
it starts with you first. Um,
100%.
that was good. That was good. That was good. Okay, okay, okay. So let's talk about some of the work you've already created, like your ebook, Four Massive Mistakes, and then your 50 Discovered Success Principles. What inspired you to compile those projects?
Yeah, so for the ebook, I actually created quite quickly. I wanted something just to put out there that people can click on, learn more about me and my current situation. Created the ebook because, last year, beginning of last year, I started to really revolutionize the way I think. I started to change my mindset. And it's an ongoing process, right? Like I believe like I've always had enough willpower to know what's right. Okay. I don't want to be like them, right? Like I was mentioning earlier, like, okay, I don't want to be like them. I'm going to conduct myself this way, et cetera, et cetera. But then it wasn't until like age 25 last year where I started to change my mindset and, think more positively, portray myself in the correct manner, and just really hone in the proper attitude in direct correlation of the results I want to achieve, right? Um, so I created that just to allow people to see what I have in store, what I'm currently doing, and then I mean we can dive a little bit more into detail about it, but that is why I created it.
Now I want to know, like, for people, what is a massive mistake that comes to mind though? Like, what's a no brainer everybody should know?
A massive mistake that someone should know. Number one, you should know who you are. That's a vital one. That's more challenging than people think. Um, Another one is removing your vices. Eliminating those poor habits. I think for me, I went on a complete diet of hip hop music, of television, of alcohol, drugs. Like I've never used to do drugs at all, but I've completely, stopped drinking alcohol, any of that stuff. And I just got rid of my vices. And you'll be amazed how high off life you will be, right? You will begin to think more clearly. You'll be much more pure, and it's a beautiful way to live. But it's tough. I'm not saying, do you, right? You got to do you. You got to live the way you live. But for me, that was something that I massively wanted to avoid. But yeah, just eliminating the habits of or poor habits. Being more focused on intentions, ignoring distractions, uh, completely removing all the things that don't move the needle in your favor, and just getting clear on what you want. What do you want? What are your goals? What is your aiming point? Right? And, that takes a lot of focus, a lot of determination. And it's an ongoing process. All these things that I'm talking about, building your mindset, honing the type of skill set you want to have, it's a perishable skill. Those are perishable. They deteriorate. You got to constantly work on them every single day. every single day. It's an undying game. It's an undying game out here. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Shout out to Nipsey.
Yes. Oh my gosh, Nip the Great, man. We can't be doing stuff like that to each other, by the way, in our community. Especially when somebody's trying to help us. Like
Yeah,
that was terrible. Because ain't nobody else
yeah,
been trying to really be the voice of reason for South LA.
right,
That's stupid.
right.
Moving on though. Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. I like
Of
that.
course.
Those are good. Okay, so now to your 50 um principles of success. What are like the popular ones, the ones that you have found to be the most useful for your life?
Um, before a person can achieve it, before a person can achieve the life he wants, he must first become that kind of individual. So what I mean by that is you must think, act, walk, conduct yourself in all of your affairs as would the person you most wish to become. Because then and only then you will be that person. So you have to first become that person you envision. Oh, you want to earn a million a year? You want to have $20 million by the age of 30? You want to have a credit score of 800 plus? Well, you got to act like that now. And it's not to say that you should be completely arrogant or delusional, but you need to conduct yourself in that manner. Like, I always try to ask myself, like, if I'm in a meeting, if I'm in a position of other people, I'm in a professional setting, how would a wealthy person act? How would a rich person act? How would I act if I was already successful in this endeavor, etc.? So that's one that I certainly have been able to embody and hold as a principle. And then another one, um, everything that we go through, every opposition, adversity, something that's a trial, if you look at it with a certain type of self awareness, you'll be able to find an equivalent seed of an advantage. In other words, everything that we go through, every ounce of opposition that we encounter, there's a seed of an equivalent advantage. But you got to search for the seed. You got to be self aware enough to realize where it is. Because everything we go through, there's a positive aspect of it. Our setbacks are our setups. Obstacles, adversity is nothing but something for us to demonstrate our power over. So those are some of the principles that I've been able to, embody. And then the last one, I would say, just overcoming your fears. I think a principle that I hold truly is if there's a slither of fear that arises, you have to do it. Like, just do it, bro. Because fear is just an illusion. It's a shapeshifter, right? It's not something that's real. Like, it's real, otherwise courage wouldn't be a thing. But it's not what we think it is. It's all in our imagination. So I try to embody the habit of doing the thing that I fear, because there was a Mark Twain quote. He said, do the thing you fear, and the death of fear is certain. So if you do the thing you fear, the fear ain't going to be there no more. Like, it's going to be something that was completely in your control.
Nah, this is game, man. This is good. I'm listening. I'm like, yeah, what am I scared of? Because for the longest time, speaking in front of like young people, like students, was my biggest fear. But I'm like, Cameron, you did it. I did
Yes.
it 10 times. I said, okay, what else you scared of? Like, let's go to that. And then you start to get addicted to like being a better, higher version of yourself. Like, I know there's more in you. Stop being so emotional. Get up out the bed. Wake up earlier.
Right.
Go harder. Like being able to do more push-ups. Cause I'm like, I'm so weak. But I'm like, no, just do it. You can do
Nah,
it.
don't
It's
say
okay to
that. You ain't
fall.
weak.
Exactly. Like, it's okay.
Ah.
It's okay. Good stuff, man. Okay, okay. Thank you for sharing that. I hope my
Of
audience.
course.
All right, we're coming to the end of our interview. What What would you tell the younger Corey with the wisdom you have now? What would you tell him?
I'm not too sure because the things that I encountered, the things that I went through made me who I am today. So I'm not too sure if I'll even tell my younger self anything other than, I don't want to say do things sooner because I probably wouldn't have had the knowledge to do so. This is always an interesting question because, you know, if I was in front of my younger self, I would probably just tell him, this is a tough one. Just have a plan. Have a better plan. Uh, read more books sooner because it wasn't until like a couple years ago, like I said, where I really tried to start to change my mindset and go on this complete diet of, music and all this stuff. But I would tell them, just have a better plan, right? And really get clear on what you want. Really get clear on who you are, and then go from there. But it's tough to have that information thrown at you at the time when you're young because you don't really have a clue. Even if you have a plan, it's going to change over time. And a really, really good piece of advice that I've heard from a mentor of mine is even the wrong goal leads you to the correct place. Because if you have the wrong goal, at least you have an aiming point and you'll learn along the way. And then you'll eventually go to the right place that you were supposed to end up at. But that's an interesting question. It's going to change over time, I'm sure, when I'm asked again as I learn and grow. But that's a really good question.
No, for real. Like, I think if somebody asked me that question, I would probably say that just trust yourself. Like,
Hmm.
read, like, and you can only change so much too. So you can come to a higher, obviously, version of yourself. But the core of who you are is like pretty much there. Like, when I
Yeah.
think about myself, I'm like, you've always had this desire, but it just took form in different ways because you were learning yourself. But I'm sure the desire to do what you're doing now to inspire people to be great and excellent, like you were always, trying to demonstrate that was always something
Yes.
in you, and
Yes.
life just took you through different modes of that.
Yes.
Exactly. Okay, okay. Well, thank you. Last question for you is what do you hope to see more of in the world?
What do I hope to see more of in the world?
Mhm.
Positivity, man. People are addicted to negative energy. People are addicted to being negative. I think if we can really exemplify or exude some positivity, then the world will be a better place. But it's, people go through a lot of different things, and I'm not here to judge because I realize that life is a struggle, life is a test, and the harder you work, the better you'll be able to relate to others and connect to other people. That's what I've realized as well. Um, because then we are more self-aware of the real challenges that occur because we've been able to overcome them. That's when we really become more wise. Uh, but I would like to see, you know, just more positivity. But at the same time, if something's positive, it's got to be negative, right? I said that earlier, so yeah, man, just more positivity though.